Imagine discovering something so powerful that it transforms medicine forever, yet slowly destroys your own life. Imagine becoming the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, then making history again by winning a second Nobel Prize in an entirely different field of science. This is the story of Marie Curie, a woman who refused to accept the limits society placed on her. Born in an occupied Poland where women were denied higher education, she overcame poverty, personal tragedy, and discrimination to become one of the greatest scientists in history. Her discoveries changed the way doctors treat cancer, reshaped modern physics, and saved millions of lives. But every breakthrough came with a price. This is the extraordinary journey of Marie Curie. Marie Curie was born as Maria Sklodowska on November 7, 1867, in Warsaw, Poland. But the Poland she was born into was not an independent nation. For decades, much of the country had been under the control of the Russian Empire. Russian authorities restricted the Polish language, controlled schools, and tried to erase Polish culture. Growing up under foreign rule taught young Marie an important lesson, that freedom and knowledge were precious. Fortunately, she was born into a family that valued education above everything else. Her father, Władysław Sklodowski, was a mathematics and physics teacher. Although his salary was small, his love for science filled the family home. Scientific instruments, books, and discussions about learning surrounded Marie from an early age. Her mother, Bronislawa, was the headmistress of a respected girls' school. She believed education was the key to a better future and encouraged all 5 of her children to study hard. Marie quickly proved herself to be an exceptional student. She had an extraordinary memory and a deep curiosity about how the world worked. But her childhood was far from happy. When Marie was only 10 years old, her older sister Zofia died from typhus. Just 2 years later, her mother passed away after a long battle with tuberculosis. Losing both her sister and mother at such a young age changed Marie forever. Instead of giving up, she focused even harder on her studies. Learning became more than a passion, it became her purpose. In 1883, she graduated from secondary school with the highest honors, earning a gold medal for academic excellence. Yet despite being one of the brightest students in Poland, she faced an obstacle she could not overcome with talent alone. Women were not allowed to attend university in Russian-controlled Poland. For many, that would have been the end of the dream. For Marie, it was only the beginning. She would soon make a decision that would change the course of her life, and eventually, the course of science itself. With no university willing to admit women in Poland, Marie refused to let her dream die. Instead, she joined the Flying University, a secret network of underground classes where young men and women studied science, literature, and Polish history away from the eyes of the Russian authorities. The classes were held in private homes and changed locations frequently to avoid being discovered. But education required money, something Marie's family simply didn't have. She and her older sister, Bronislawa, made a life-changing agreement. Marie would work to support Bronislawa's medical studies in Paris. In return, once Bronislawa became a doctor, she would help Marie continue her own education. For the next several years, Marie worked as a governess for a wealthy family in the Polish countryside. She spent her days teaching children and her evenings reading science and mathematics. Every paycheck brought her one step closer to her dream. During this time, she also experienced heartbreak. She fell in love with Kazimierz Żarowski, the son of the family she worked for. Although the two cared deeply for each other, his wealthy parents refused to let him marry a poor governess. The relationship ended, but Marie refused to let disappointment define her future. Finally, in 1891, after years of sacrifice and saving every possible coin, she boarded a train to Paris. At the age of 24, she enrolled at the Sorbonne, one of Europe's finest universities. Life there was anything but comfortable. Marie rented a tiny attic room with no heating. During the harsh winters, she often studied wrapped in blankets. To save money, she survived on little more than bread, butter, and tea. Sometimes she became so weak from hunger that she fainted during class. Yet nothing could distract her from her goal. She studied from dawn until late at night, determined to make every sacrifice worthwhile. Her hard work paid off. In 1893, she graduated first in her class in physics. A year later, she earned a second degree in mathematics, establishing herself as one of the brightest young scientists in France. It was during this time that she met a quiet physicist named Pierre Curie. Their meeting would begin one of the greatest scientific partnerships in history. When Marie met Pierre Curie, she found someone who shared her greatest passion, science. Pierre was a respected physicist, known for his research on magnetism. Quiet, humble, and completely devoted to discovery, he admired Marie's intelligence and determination from the very beginning. The two married in 1895 in a simple ceremony. Instead of expensive gifts, they received 2 bicycles, which they used to explore the French countryside together. Their marriage wasn't built on wealth or fame. It was built on curiosity. Working side by side in a small, poorly equipped laboratory, the couple searched for answers to one of science's newest mysteries. A few years earlier, French physicist Henri Becquerel had discovered that uranium gave off invisible rays. Most scientists found the discovery interesting, but few believed it would lead to anything significant. Marie thought otherwise. She decided to make this mysterious phenomenon the subject of her doctoral research. After months of careful experiments, she noticed something extraordinary. A mineral called pitchblende emitted far more radiation than uranium alone. Marie concluded that the mineral must contain unknown elements that had never been discovered. It was a bold claim. To prove it, Marie and Pierre began the exhausting task of processing tons of pitchblende inside their modest laboratory. The work was physically demanding. Day after day, Marie stirred boiling chemicals in large iron containers, often working for hours in difficult conditions. Their persistence paid off. In July 1898, they announced the discovery of a new element, which Marie named polonium, in honor of her homeland, Poland. Just a few months later, in December 1898, they revealed another discovery. They called it radium. Marie also introduced the term radioactivity, giving a name to an entirely new field of scientific research. Scientists around the world immediately recognized the importance of their work. Without realizing it, Marie and Pierre had opened the door to a scientific revolution, one that would transform physics, chemistry, and medicine for generations to come. Their discoveries soon attracted worldwide attention. And before long, the world would reward them with its highest scientific honor. In 1903, Marie Curie's groundbreaking research received the world's highest scientific recognition. The Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded to Henri Becquerel, Pierre Curie, and Marie Curie for their pioneering work on radioactivity. But history almost took a different course. At first, the Nobel Committee planned to recognize only Pierre Curie and Henri Becquerel. When Pierre learned that Marie had been left out, he strongly objected, insisting that the research had been a joint effort. The committee corrected its decision, making Marie Curie the first woman ever to receive a Nobel Prize. It was a historic achievement, but Marie had little interest in fame. She returned to the laboratory, continuing her research. Then, tragedy struck. In April 1906, Pierre Curie was walking through the streets of Paris when he was accidentally struck by a horse-drawn wagon. He died instantly. Marie was devastated. She had lost her husband, her closest friend, and her scientific partner. Many believed her career would end there. Instead, Marie did something remarkable. She accepted Pierre's position at the Sorbonne, becoming the first woman ever to teach at the university. She continued the research they had begun together, determined to complete their work. Years of dedication led to another extraordinary breakthrough. In 1910, Marie successfully isolated pure radium, allowing scientists to study the element in far greater detail. Just 1 year later, in 1911, she was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for discovering polonium and radium, and for her pioneering research on radioactive elements. With that achievement, Marie Curie became the first person in history to win 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields, physics and chemistry. No scientist, man or woman, had ever accomplished such a feat. Her discoveries transformed the scientific world and opened new possibilities for medicine, especially in the treatment of diseases that had once seemed impossible to fight. But while the world celebrated her success, an invisible danger was already affecting her health. The very discoveries that made her famous would eventually cost her everything. By the early 20th century, Marie Curie was one of the world's most respected scientists. But she believed science should serve humanity, not just fill textbooks. When World War I began in 1914, thousands of wounded soldiers arrived at military hospitals every day. Doctors often had no way to see broken bones or bullets lodged inside the body. Marie knew her research could help. She designed mobile X-ray units, later nicknamed the Little Curies. These vehicles brought X-ray machines directly to the battlefield, allowing doctors to diagnose injuries quickly and perform life-saving surgeries. Marie didn't simply organize the project. She personally drove the vehicles, trained nurses and technicians, and helped operate the machines herself. It is estimated that more than 1 million soldiers benefited from these mobile X-ray units during the war. But while Marie was saving countless lives, her own health was slowly fading. For years, she had worked with radioactive materials without any protective equipment. At the time, scientists did not fully understand the dangers of prolonged radiation exposure. Marie often handled radium with her bare hands and even carried small samples in her pockets, fascinated by their soft blue glow. The radiation silently damaged her body. On July 4, 1934, Marie Curie died from aplastic anemia, a disease widely linked to years of exposure to radiation. She was 66 years old. Although her life came to an end, her legacy did not. Her discoveries became the foundation of modern nuclear physics, radiation therapy, and many medical technologies used around the world today. Millions of cancer patients have benefited from treatments made possible by her pioneering research. More than a century after her discoveries, Marie Curie remains the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields, and one of the greatest scientists in human history. She once said, "Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood." Those words perfectly capture the life she lived. A little girl born in an occupied country, denied opportunities because of her gender, grew into a woman whose courage and curiosity changed the world forever.